morning, guys. It's Laurie of Laurie's Sewing, and as you can see, George is not here. This I haven't named. I'm kind of thinking maybe I will name this one. I can't even remember how I came up with George's name. George. I just wish I could know. It was like 20-something years ago. What I'm going to do is practice. I have this, literally, this is it. I don't even have the little piece that completes the table. It is missing. I don't think I ever had it. Maybe it's somewhere. I don't know. I have this, which I'm going to assume is a zipper foot. It has a place where you can shift the needle over, which I assume you can do on this machine. Okay, so I'm back and I was not successful. Trying to find information about this sewing machine online is like just not going to happen. I suppose I could spend, hours and hours and days and days and days and try to do that, but I decided that that was not a very good use of the time I have. So I decided that I'm going to just try to be as careful as I can, and I don't think that between now and when I get George back I'm going to have to put a zipper in. I hope not. But if I have to put in a zipper, I will either do my level best with this sewing machine as is, or I will simply stitch it in by hand because it would have to be that kind of an emergency for me to attempt to do it on this. My plan is, and I've already ordered this, is to create some items for our animals. I am going to do some sewing on this sewing machine, and I went ahead and I have got my new project coming to me. It should be here, part of it today and part of it later on. It's going to be this pattern, which is McCalls 3472. So we have these series of small, medium, and large beds. We have some toys. We have some, I would hate to say stockings, because some furry friends may not celebrate that particular holiday, but I think they would be fun to just simply store certain toys in, and then that would be the go-to, in my opinion. I don't know. The other thing is we have the food mat fish and the food mat bone for cats and dogs. And of course, either one, right? Depending on the fabrics, I think. So here they're showing a kitty cat lying on I'm going to go with a smaller version of this bed. I really hope that the JCPenny sewing machine is up to this task, because there will also be a layer of batting in between these two. So my next thing that I'm going to do is a simple test. The cabbage has batting in the middle. So I have the red fabric, I have the batting, and I have the cotton outside fabric. So I'm going to just stitch right down this piece of fabric right here to see how well this sewing machine will handle this. So this is the front right here, the blue thread running the length of this right here. The stitches are even. I don't see any change in that length. And then this is the back. It just runs all the way down. I'm still not seeing any tension issues or nesting. Looks pretty good. I'll open this up. It looks like it's well attached. I don't see any issues there either. Okay, that's good to know. I did want to point out one thing. So with SpoonFlower Fabric, you have this wide band of white on both sides, but they're not the same. This one is narrow, this one is wide. So in order to properly cut out your fabric, you have to line up these blue lines like so. Now I've pressed this fabric so I don't want to create a crease in the middle, knowing that I'm going to be using that as a glamour piece for the fabric placemat. So my plan is to instead just run pins right along this line right here so that I can keep them even. A little tip that I wanted to mention before I continue with the process of cutting the backing fabric out. because all of this fabric is cut in rectangular shaped pieces, these are the backs. I have 4 of them cut out so far. And then what was left over is a piece of fabric that could conceivably be one of these, but it isn't. It's not wide enough. So I have turned it right sides together and I have folded it up. The reason being, I don't want to think, if I leave the room and I come back, I don't want to look at this and think, oh, that's the right, that's one of these. And I did cut out 5, when in fact, no, I did not. So if I'm in the process of cutting and I don't want to get up and put this in my scrap fabric bin, then it's just folded backwards, so to speak, and I'll know, this is not one of these. So that's just a little tip. Everything has been cut out. I have the chinois, I believe is the proper pronunciation, blue and white on porcelain look. And then I have these snowflakes, which they don't really look like snowflakes to me, but that's the name of the fabric. It's navy and light blue snowflakes. And then I have the batting. Now this is the batting I've not used before, and it's quite thin, but I like the way it feels. So construction is backing fabric, batting, and chinois. And the chinois goes right on top like this. And then you have those 3 inches from which you create a mitered corner on all 4 corners. So this is basically what it'll end up looking like when we get them stitched. Good morning, it's the next day. So here we are with the basically 3 parts to our placemat project. We will now take the batting and apply it to the glamour fabric, like so. Get it right on there. And then if you want to, you can use some basting spray. I have this spray and bond basting adhesive. So now we're at that phase where we have to decide, do we want to quilt this? Well, if you recall, I have a sewing machine that I'm kind of skeptical about, but I think I might go ahead and try it. We'll see. I do not spray this on my fabric. When I have a project that uses it, I put it on the batting. I just feel like I get a better look. The last time I did put it on fabric, it discolored a red fabric that I was using to make an apron with for Christmas, and I just didn't like that very much. So I am going to try to quilt, but I'm going to do wide, just big wide squiggly lines, because I don't want to use a lot of thread. I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to commit. So if I do like a squiggly here, and then come and do another squiggly over here, and then do one here, and then turn it this way, and we'll do one there, and there, and there. We'll see what that looks like. Alright, so there we go. Now you probably remember, of course, that I'm working on a sewing machine that I'm not that familiar with, and I didn't want to invest a whole lot of time in intricate quilting. So the thing about this freeform squiggly line, I mean, you'll see it on pre-made products that you can find in the store. It's a quick way of achieving kind of a quilted look without the investment of, you know, tremendous amount of time. And on this sewing machine, the tension is just kind of weird. The thread broke once right here, so I had to rethread again, readjust the tension. Stitches look fairly decent on both the front and the back. They're not too tight, but it's just, I'm a little outside of my comfort zone. Okay, so the next step, once you've got this, if you want to quilt it, you don't have to quilt it. Or you could be very, very quilty and do a whole series of very close together diagonal lines, and then do another whole series of very close diagonal lines. Or you could purchase the pre-quilted fabric that I have seen at Joann in, I think, almost every single Joann Fabrics I've ever been in. They have pre-quilted, you know, little teeny tiny quilted designs on very pretty, cute, sweet, or masculine type fabrics that you could do this project with. Just cut out your squares and then do your backing, and you've got your placemats made. So anyway, for me, I am now going to get 3 inches on all 4 sides. We are good to go. All right, so pin kind of out in the middle of your placemat like so. If you're worried about your fabric, you know, getting pinholes, then pin it in the quilting if you've quilted. That'll help disguise, you know, any additional damage to your fabric. So since you've quilted it, just take your pin and go right into those lines made by the stitching. I don't know if you can see that, but that's where my pins are. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to do that 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and we'll see what that looks like. Oh, well, it's going to be a difficult project for me because I don't have a table extension. So this fabric wants to just kind of flop and hang on the sewing machine table. So I'm kind of thinking, as you can see, there's a lot of bubbling back here, but I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go ahead and use the basting spray on the back side of the Glamour fabric to kind of help with holding it in place, because I don't know any other way that I could do it. It's really bubbly, but I'm not going to give up. I mean, this is going to be a placemat, this one in particular. So the next thing that we'll do is locate that 45-degree angle on the Omni Grid or whatever product you have. Mine is right here, and I'm going to put it so that it's lined up with this edge right here and 1/4 of an inch away from this point right here. So we just set that down and then find that 1/4 inch mark. Make sure that this 45-degree line is straight along there, and then either mark it with a pen and cut it with scissors, or use this and your rotary cutter. Making sure, of course, that you're leaving that 1/4 of an inch extra all the way around all 4 sides after we have stitched it to this backing fabric. So 1/4 of an inch away from the point, that 45-degree line right on the edge of the fabric. And trim that away. Okay, so they've all been pinned. We're going to go ahead and start pinning the mitered corners. So we just leave these pinned, but we're going to be looking at this folded edge and this folded edge. And we're going to go backwards like so, so that we're matching up the right side of our fabric on that folded edge. And we need to see that this fold and this fold look like a paper airplane. They need to match up like, it's kind of heavy, so keep that in mind. You might want to clip it or pin it or just fold it like I've done here so that it's resting on your work surface, and then just match it up like you're literally making a paper airplane. Okay, and then I find that 2 pins, one here and one a little bit closer to the point, make it much easier. Okay, now over here we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to match up the folded top edge, right sides together. Our glamour fabric is facing out, and paper airplane again. So this is the nose of the paper airplane. And we'll just pin and pin again. Working our way all the way around. We did this one, so we're going to go to this one. So this folded edge and this folded edge should be together. Try not to make it too hard for yourself. If it's difficult to hold up, see, this is attached by pins, so it might not want to cooperate. Just match up those 2 folded edges and just keep it, under control. And then match up these 2 folds right here, like so, and pin. I wouldn't try to take this to the sewing machine without the assist of pins. I just don't think that would work very well. Okay, and the last one should be the easiest. It literally just kind of wants to fall into place. Like so. They should be matched up. Pin and pin. Now it can hang out like this for a little while. It won't hurt anything. We'll just set that one aside and move on and do the other 2. Okay. And the last one. And I find it really helps to just go ahead and take this long set of folded edges and line those up together, and it'll help you get this corner perfectly set for the stitching.
One eternity later.
Okay, I don't know what I was doing last. I know I had done all three, but I don't know what I said because it's been a long time. So we're going to take care of it now. I'm going to grab my scissors and just cut a little bit of this off on each one. I don't want to do a deep cut, and I don't want to cut off a whole bunch, just a little bit, like about there. So literally, just a little tiny bit of fabric. Alright, we're going to do all three at the same time, doing it the same way. Alright, next I'm going to actually trim this. This is a little bit extra. Alright, got that one trimmed. Guess we'll go ahead and turn it. Okay, so we're just going to push, 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 and push, and then just leave it like that. Now the next thing is we have all three of these ready to press. We're just going to turn this around like so. I'm not going to mess with them too much till I get the iron over here, but there's one. Two and three. Okay, once again, I'm just lift and press. Alright, I don't know why that is so flappy. So what I plan to do is, yeah, just go ahead and do press if it starts to bunch up on me like that. These will have a zigzag just like the other two, and that gives me a total of 5. So I want to show you the issue with the other one. So in my zealous attempt to finish these quickly, I thought, oh, this needs to be 12, so I cut it off at 12. Well, the problem is this was supposed to have been cut at 14. So now I just have like this little square. My options are to stitch, just stitch it right here. It won't be as big, but it won't be this tiny. And then there will be a seam right here. And then I can just do my typical zigzaggy, quilty, stitchy stuff and see if I can integrate that into this. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and restitch this, and we're just going to see what we end up with. Alright, so here it is stitched. Just going to open it up like so. Well, I suppose I could try to trim this down just a wee bit. There it is. I think it will be okay. I mean, 3-foot rule. I don't think people will really notice it, and if they do, it'll be a funny story. So here's the back, and there's that seam. It's a very small little seam now, and here's the front. So this is the one that I will make probably off camera. We'll see how they look at the end. The other two are already on the dining room table, and of course I love the blue in there. So we'll see what the 5 oddball placemats end up looking like. I think this is a gorgeous fabric. I hope if you like it you were able to find it. I will try to remember to link it below. It is a SpoonFlower Fabric called, I have no idea what it's called, but the designer is Lily Oak, all one word, Lillyoak. In the spirit of working with what I have, I'm just going to show you. Of course, you know, these are not by any means up to the standard of my usual sewing. And there's nothing I can do if I'm going to sew on the sewing machine. And it's the only sewing machine I have at the moment. Okay, we've established that. So I can't wait to show you what just happened. Now you have to remember this sewing machine unthreads itself very frequently as I'm stitching. So here is the zigzag, and I'm like wibbling and wobbling and trying to hold it because there's nothing, you know, there's no box to hold this up. So I'm all over the place just trying to guide. I don't care. They're fine. They'll be used. They're not going to go to waste. And I will definitely be using them. Even if I put them under plant pots, you know, they'll keep the floor dry. So I'm stitching along, doing this hideously horrible zigzag. Awful, awful, awful. And it came unthreaded right here. Okay, it just nested all up and became, and it happens in the blink of an eye. I'm going along, and it sounds awful. It sounds like a, you know, like a slingshot or something. Okay, so I rethreaded it, I talked to it, I was nice to it. I mean, I really was. I was very nice to it. And then it starts doing this. Just this weird. I'll zigzag. I'll say, oh no, I'm not going to zigzag. I'm going to do this and la 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 la. But if you turn it over on the back, it's not as bad on the back as it is on the front. But my point in showing you this is I'm going to take this out starting about right here. I'm just going to rip out these stitches because they're not acceptable, and I know it can do, well, it can do better. But this is, no, I don't think so. These 3 are finally done. I got the 1.5 rows fixed. You know, this sewing machine decides it's going to unthread itself, so then I have to rethread it after doing 3 things. I don't care what 3 things they are, but it's the 3rd thing that I'm doing that it decides I'm going to unthread myself. Now, the next thing to do is have this piece of fabric so that it is wrong side up. And this piece of fabric wrong side down so that the wrong sides are matching. Okay, and we're going to take I know it's 3 though. Yeah, it's right on 3. Right on 3. Definitely with one little adjustment. Just a wee little bit. Okay. So the next step in the process is to spray half of this with spray adhesive, especially in the corners, and then press it down, and then do the same thing. Just fold this back till you feel resistance and hit the corners and push this down and spread it out pretty good. And then we're going to go to the sewing machine and just stitch all the way around at 1/4 inch. Alright, they're all done. These are the 4 that I have in the sewing room, and then there's 2 more out on the dining room table. This is the one that had the extra cut right here. You can't even tell really. I mean, I think it shows up more on video than it does in real life. I'd be surprised if anybody ever noticed it. And then here's the other 3 that I think look kind of nice. So I'm going to go put these on the table and get the thumbnail shot, and I'll take you guys out there and let you see what it looks like. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye!